From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Somewhere across the universe, there may be an Earth-like planet that could be a second home for humanity. Now, if that sounds like science fiction, astronomers at the University of Colorado Boulder are actually part of a new project designed to help find that planet. They're searching for alien life or other planets that could potentially host human life. And their efforts will soon get a major boost as researchers from CU Boulder, in collaboration with NASA, prepare for a new space telescope to come online. The telescope, called the Habitable Worlds Observatory, is expected to launch in the 2030s. Kevin France is a professor of astrophysics and planetary sciences at CU and was recently appointed to the project.
Kids all over the world know the pictures from the Hubble Space Telescope. You know, it's kind of brought galaxies and nebulae and planets into our common everyday life. And I think that the Habitable Worlds Observatory is basically, the next step in that process.
Kevin talked with me about how the observatory could help us reimagine our place in the universe. And he told me how he got into space exploration in the first place.
I had the amazing opportunity to work on a NASA rocket mission when I was an undergraduate at Boston University. And as a 21-year-old, I got to hang out and watch it launch into space and work in space. And I was like, this is what I need to be doing. And so I can't believe they pay people to do this. And so along the way, I became more and more interested in the study of extrasolar planets, which we now know are, around we know about 6,000 of them outside the solar system. And it's just an exploding field and a really exciting time to be able to kind of ask some of these age-old questions.
Wow. So 6,000, that's pretty fertile ground for finding something. How do researchers define a habitable world? What are the characteristics they need to have?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a very Earth-centric view that we have. So the first thing that we think we need to be is in the quote-unquote Goldilocks zone, the habitable zone, which is essentially just means the planet is orbiting at some distance where water could stay liquid on a surface for some part of the year. After that, but that's a very simplified version of what might make a habitable planet. After that, we think that it needs to have an atmosphere that's maybe similar to what we have here on Earth.
Sure.
And it needs to have the right type of star. Here on Earth, we live around a very kind of average, middle-age, yellow star. So you need to kind of find the right combination of star and planet to have a good chance, I think.
The Habitable Worlds Observatory is expected to launch sometime in the late 2030s. It's going to sit somewhere between the Earth and the sun. Why place it there?
Right. So there's a special place in space called a Lagrange point where the gravity from all of those major bodies more or less cancels out. So if we put a spacecraft there, it's not getting tugged too hard in any one direction. And so it can stay in a stable position there for a long period of time. It's pretty easy to communicate. We don't have to take a whole bunch of extra fuel to do thrusters to keep it in place. So it's a pretty good place to drop a spacecraft if you want it to work for, 10 or 20 years.
Yeah, which we do, I think.
That's right, yeah.
And what part of the work is being done in Boulder?
Right. So we in Boulder, specifically at LASP, the Laboratory for Atmospheric and Space Physics, we have a long history of building instruments for NASA missions. We build things for astronomy. We built stuff for the Hubble Space Telescope. We build things that go to the outer planets.
Sure.
And so right now we're working on the science of the Habitable Worlds Observatory. How do we make sure that we are asking the questions the right way? But then what we've been also doing in parallel is developing a lot of the technology that we'll need to develop the instruments and make the observatory possible. So, we have a science role now, and we hope to continue to be plugged into how we actually build and use this mission.
How will this observatory differ from existing space telescopes like Hubble or James Webb in terms of what it can do and what it can detect?
Right. You can sort of think about it as a super Hubble Space Telescope. It operates along the same wavelengths of the electromagnetic spectrum as Hubble, but it has about 10 times the collecting area. So it's going to be able to take sharper pictures, see farther into space. But probably most importantly, it has an instrument that we call a coronagraph. And the coronagraph is there to block out the bright light from the parent star, the host star. And so we can see the faint planetary system that's orbiting it, because the bright star is about 10 billion times brighter than the planets. So we have to have this coronagraph to block out that bright light so we can actually see the faint Earth-like planets that are in that system.
So that coronagraph, I mean, it's kind of like when you're looking at the night sky, but there's a street light and you have to kind of put your hand up to block that light. That's exactly right. Exactly right. And, the term actually comes from what happens when we have an eclipse, where the moon goes in front of the sun's disk and we actually can see the corona of the sun. And so that's like nature's coronagraph, but we need to make an artificial coronagraph to go out and do this experiment for other stars. Sure. As someone who has made a life's work out of astronomy, Kevin, what do you hope the observatory will find?
So I'm actually torn. Half of me wants to find Earth-like planets and the signs of life similar to what we have on Earth, and I want them to be all over the place.
Yeah.
But the other part of me wants to find something that we completely did not expect. One amazingly intriguing possibility is that we don't find any Earth-like planets out there, and it would make us question our place in the universe if we, because we know that there are tons of stars and we know there are tons of planets, into the possibility that we might be the only one where this kind of right stew of things for life has happened would be a really interesting outcome. But the other opportunities are, that maybe there are signs of life that are not exactly like it happens here on Earth, right? We have a carbon-based ecosystem here.
Right.
It's very possible that things happen differently on other worlds, and I hope we have the opportunity to kind of figure that out.
Kevin, is there an element in this work of, finding a plan B planet in case climate change or, a looming asteroid strike or some other disaster makes Earth uninhabitable?
So we do plan on using the Habitable Worlds Observatory for what we call planetary defense, which is being able to identify asteroids that may impact Earth very, very early, so we might be able to do something about them. So that's a little bit different than what you asked. There is also the search for, what about the nearest star systems? If they have an Earth twin that we might be able to go visit someday. And so Habitable Worlds will tell us which of those nearby stars are the best candidates for that, and that they will certainly tell us where the planets are. Now, getting there is maybe a little bit further in the future, but yeah, it'll certainly make a roadmap for us.
Kevin France, professor of astrophysics and planetary sciences at CU Boulder, speaking about the Habitable Worlds Observatory. The new state-of-the-art space telescope is set to launch in the late 2030s. We'll include links where you can learn more and see images in our show notes and at KUNC.org. And if this conversation has you thinking about the best places to look at the stars from here on Earth, we'll drop a link to our recent episode about Breckenridge becoming Colorado's latest dark sky community. And you can catch up with any past In The NoCo episode you might have missed at KUNC.org or your favorite podcast app. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening.